Hey, what's up? I'm Dave Boyer, aka Mr. Boyer, aka the Swamp Man, and I made it as far as I could up the Queens Canyon Road in a rental two-wheel drive vehicle. I think I'm about 9/10 of a mile from the Queens Canyon trailhead that I'm taking up to Boundary Peak in the morning. So that's California and the Sierra Nevadas. I'm just over the border in Nevada. Boundary Peak is the highest point in Nevada. That's the main draw that brings me here today and tomorrow. Not a bad campsite. Unfortunately, I don't have anything to camp, so I'm just going to find a way to sleep in the seats in the SUV. We flew, where my family's on a summer trip, and we're in between stops, actually, between Costa Rica, where I have just come from, and Hawaii, coming up in about a week. But I got a chance to come up and try for Boundary Peak tomorrow. Drove right by Mount Whitney today, coming up Highway 395 in California, coming up from Southern California. And there were some pretty severe storms, it looked like, over Mount Whitney, around the Lone Pine Whitney Portal area. And there was a little bit of rain earlier, but wow, this is beautiful. Can't quite tell if I've got the time, but I can't quite tell if I have the energy to hike up to the trailhead and down just to kind of check things out. I think that would be smart. It's about 9/10 of a mile from here to the actual trailhead. And the road that I came up was the most difficult road I've driven on. So it was a challenge. I got stuck once and had to back down and try slightly more aggressively and made it. But this section here, I actually went up a slight bit more of this before deciding that that was not a risk worth taking. But there's another tough section right after that too that I walked through and kind of scouted out. So I made it as far as I could, and I'm excited to try for Boundary tomorrow, which I assume is through this canyon portal here, and then maybe get to see it, but that way. Right on. I'll check in tomorrow and let you know how I'm doing. All right, I took my own advice and hiked up the 9/10 of a mile, I guess, to the trailhead, Queens Canyon, and it was steep. Like, that was a tough little 9/10 of a mile. It's gonna be a tough climb tomorrow, but I'm glad I scouted it out. Made it back to campsite. You might not have been able to hear me up at the trailhead. It was pretty windy. Spectacular view. This is awesome. I can't believe I get an experience like this. It's just so what I want right now. I thought I'd kind of show you what I set up tonight. The sun's not quite down yet, but getting close to sunset. So on the passenger side, I basically set up everything for my hike tomorrow. So my backpack is already packed. My clothes that I'm going to wear are sitting here in the seat. I got my hiking poles extended to the right height. Everything is kind of ready to go. I'm going to try a different backpack than I've been using recently. It's actually an older backpack that I had a long time ago and just haven't been using because it's a little bit smaller, but it is a little bit lighter. Um, so I have enough in there for the hike, so um, it works. And then tonight, since I didn't bring any kind of camping gear, I don't really have any blankets or anything. I'm just gonna sit in the front seat here. I do have a pillow at least. And this evening I may even sit and I've got some battery on my laptop and might try to transfer some photos and things here at campsite to keep me occupied, whenever I'm not out looking at the view. So I'm gonna keep hydrating tonight and try to go to sleep once it gets dark. Set an alarm to get up at 4, and I probably will be on the trail within 5 or 10 minutes at least. So hopefully I can get up that section of road, not miss the turn to the trail, because it's a right turn up at the kind of top of the Queens Canyon Road. Little look back to the Sierras. That's awesome. Good morning. I'm already on trail. I've already climbed about 1,500 feet, over 1.6, I think, miles. I'm kind of getting my first look at Boundary Peak, and it's impressive. The dawn light. The sun rising over the Nevada desert. It's kind of a magical morning. It's been a lot of uphill. Obviously, if you're climbing a pretty big mountain, it's going to be uphill. It looks like there's a lot more uphill. Looking at that summit up there of Boundary, maybe even a little bit intimidating, but I'm feeling pretty good. Had a little bit of a moment coming up, maybe, I don't know, a half mile at most, past the trailhead. In the dark light, I got started on the trail at 4, so did pretty well. Got up to the trailhead by 4:30, but not long after that, kind of turned my headlight off towards a tree and saw 2 eyes reflecting back at me. I assume it was probably wild horses. I've seen pictures of people at this area climbing Boundary and being around wild horses, but my heart was already pumping from the uphill, and just kind of keeping a watch on those eyes as they tracked my movements uphill. But if it was horse or whatever else, it didn't ever get up from underneath that tree. So, but other than that, oh wow. Just incredible. Maybe a little bit of a waning gibbous moon, pretty close to a third quarter moon. So sunrise, it's going to be reaching its highest point basically, as my spot on the earth rotates towards directly facing the moon. Rained off and on throughout the night, really. Trails, I mean, not super wet, but you can kind of see that as you take steps that the kind of sandy, dirty surface is damp. So I'm hoping after the sun comes up and that it'll dry out the road for my drive out, because I parked 3/10 of a mile, probably further than I should have, past the mine. Just kind of giving the road a try, not really realizing, I guess, that I had passed the mine actually. But a couple of gnarly sections to drive over, and really prefer it to be dry. But I'll tackle that later today, maybe even later this morning, because like I said, I was on the road, I guess, not the trail, but on the road by 4 and on the trail proper by 4:30. So I've got about 3.5 miles of hiking to get up to the peak of Boundary. All right, I'm gonna focus on it. I'll keep y'all informed. Well, let's do this, man. Beautiful. Oh. So there's 4 of those wild horses that I was just talking about. And it was steep to get up to this, but this is awesome. God, I love ridge line or saddle walks like this. You get great views, generally in both directions. I got a little hump over here to my right that kind of prevents me from seeing the Sierras right now, but just coasting through here, feeling awesome. Still got stars, still got the moon. the sunrise. God, so lucky to be experiencing this. So thankful for my family for supporting me in doing this. And I'd love to experience this with my family or my friends. But there is something special about hiking alone, really being kind of immersed away from distractions. Self-reliant. It's almost selfish of me to take this for myself. I don't know that there's anybody else around. I don't know that anybody else is heading up Boundary today. I could see the main parking area at Queen's Mine last night, and there was nobody down there. Possibly people maybe coming up Trail Canyon. I feel like it's me and the wild horses and this beautiful mountains. Not everybody likes to experience these kinds of places in the same way that I do. I could have slept in a little bit longer, could have had breakfast, could have made some, brought my electric tea kettle or something and made some tea. Not everybody wants to sleep in the passenger side of their vehicle, and I did actually get some sleep. Not great sleep, but some. I think with the endorphins and adrenaline and magic that this place is bringing me, I'm gonna be just fine today on the amount of sleep I had. I'll tackle the drive later. Man. So clearly just a little bit after sunrise. Been making some progress. I've come 3.3 miles from where I parked, so that means I'm about 2.4 miles up the Queen Canyon Trail, so a little bit more than halfway actually. I've climbed 1,600 plus feet or so, and I'm at the end of kind of the saddle, the really easy, just awesome section. at about 10,820 feet or so. So I'm making good progress, feeling good, but I think it's about to get real. So this here, this kind of knob right here is not Boundary Peak. It's blocking the view of Boundary. So I think I've got to go, up and around the right side of this knob to join the ridge line that heads up to Boundary. But those Nevada mountains with the sunrise, oh, stunning, just absolutely stunning. Somewhere out there is Great Basin National Park, with Wheeler Peak. Have not been there yet. That's on our list to do. If not before, we'll do it in 2025 when we're driving through this area on a cross country trip that I've already planned out. To the west, I'm getting my first looks at the Sierras this morning. They don't have much light on them yet. The sun's got to rise a little bit higher to get over, this range that I'm on. Guess it's time to do some work. Got some climbing to do. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah, I'm feeling the grind coming up from Trail Canyon Saddle. I've come about a half a mile from there, maybe, and climbed a little over 1,000 feet, or right at 1,000 feet. And it's just been through basically some loose gravel, small boulders, slid down a few steps, but traction's been pretty good. Still making my way up and over this hill that I could see from the saddle. And I think that'll reach the ridge line, and then I'll have a push up to the summit of Boundary Peak. Just come from Costa Rica. We were celebrating my parents' 50th, actually kind of their 51st, but we delayed a trip, a family trip, by a year because of the pandemic. And in Costa Rica's first chance, spending 8 days with my brother, longest I've spent with him in a long time. And we started talking about climbing mountains and what I was going to be doing this summer after Costa Rica. And he asked what probably most people would ask, why, what's the point of trying to climb the 50 states high points, or any mountain, I guess, for that matter. I think there's kind of two big reasons, for me at least. I'll speak personally. Um, one of those is just to be in a place that is this beautiful and just a fine display of what the earth has to offer. it fills me with kind of positive energy. It's like this place, Boundary Peak, just kind of soaks in its energy into my body. Um, sparks those endorphins in my frontal lobe and seals in memories in my temporal lobe, and just kind of fills every cell in my body with just positive feelings, positive energy. Um, it's fuel for life. Like that's what that's what I seek out here. That's one of the reasons. The other reason is kind of more personal, I guess. Even um, it's about growth. Like I'm 43, but I've got a long ways to go, I hope, and I got to continue growing as a human. You want to grow your mind, grow your brain, keep learning new things, keep having new experiences. But specifically for climbing a mountain, a challenging mountain like this, it's to push my body, like physically push it, test it, give it give it a chance to go beyond kind of a normal everyday life. And then my brain, my temporal lobe where memories are stored, you know, creating and strengthening synapses there. Kind of the growth mindset, really, of kind of how the brain works, and um, challenges in the future, whether they be climbing mountains, um, having serious injury like uh, my knee injury that I'm now close to 13 months post surgery. Um, these kinds of experiences, pushing myself, um, I think build me up. They grow confidence. They grow assurance that I can do great things. I can do tough things. So that's why I do it. And I didn't have that good of an answer maybe for my brother. We were in a luxurious resort, standing in line actually to get some fruity drinks and some food provided for us in a swimsuit. That's it. Like I just I didn't quite have the best answer for him, but that's kind of what I've been thinking about coming up this really difficult section that I have. Luckily, I've stopped here for a few minutes to shoot this video and rest and prepare for the next difficult spot. Hopefully you can tell that I'm feeling great. Like I love this. So I'm not complaining when I go through some other lists here, but my body's not doing 100%. In Costa Rica, I stepped on a thorn, jabbed in pretty deep into my right foot on the bottom. Actually stepped on some other things on that right foot, a piece of glass on our balcony after a monkey, capuchin monkey, knocked over our patio table with a glass top, and they came and cleaned it up, but there was still some glass out there. And I can feel that spot. It's irritating the bottom of my foot. I think it's called the hip flexor, maybe the muscle that kind of where the quad comes into the hip that pulls your leg up each step. Like this has been a tough, steep climb, and that's kind of smarting a little bit. My calves are a little bit sore, so it's not like I'm flying up this mountain and rocking it like the best anybody ever has, but like I said, push yourself, push push myself. And I know I can do it. So I'm going to try to do it. I'll keep on heading up. 1,400 feet maybe to go. Awesome. I'll show you later. All right, I took a little break at the top of this section and shed some layers, ate a little breakfast, just about a 5-minute little rest. You really see the route I've taken. Kind of straight over there would be Queens Canyon Mine. So I came up, which you can't see that part, but then joined the Queens Canyon Trail, the trailhead, climbed up to this saddle ridge back here. You can see the trail line back there. Trail Canyon Saddles just down below there. And then I made the grueling slog to get up to this point. And then looking ahead, I'm going to keep rounding this hill that we've seen from the saddle and before that to gain the ridge line up to Boundary Peak. Whew. Beautiful hike. One of the less, I guess, established trail just because it's not hiked all that often. It wasn't hard to follow in that scree field. I was sometimes to the left of the All Trails trail line, sometimes to the right of it, but I found my path and basically stuck to the main established trail. Maybe I'll give you a little bit of a look at what this section's like. There you have it, halfway, all the way up to the summit of Boundary Peak. High point number 35 for me. And it was some good challenge in it. This is a good one. I mean, took almost 4 hours from my car. Just over 3 hours from the Queens Canyon trailhead. So that's a really slow pace. Nothing to be bragging about. You know, my most recent high point was Mount Marcy in New York. and that trail was about twice as long as what I have just done, and took about the same amount of time. So it gives you a sense of how slow and challenging some of these steps were. Maybe the way back won't be as bad. Downhill, hard on the knees, hard on the ankles, hard on the toes, but gravity helps a little bit. And maybe I'll do better at route finding and staying on some better solid ground. I think everybody that gets up to the top of Boundary looks across at Montgomery Peak, I think, which is in California, and doesn't look very far away. I think it's rated as a class 3 scramble, a class 3 traverse, which means it's not impossible. You don't need any gear. A little experience would help. Some moves where you probably need to use hands and feet, keeping 3 points of contact. But I don't think that's in my cards for today. I got what I came for. $15 more high points, and I could claim to have accomplished a lifelong goal. It's been a little more than 20 years since I first completed a state high point. Kind of around the same time, living in Asheville, I climbed Mount Mitchell and Clingman's Dome, North Carolina and Tennessee's high points. A few months later, climbed Mount Rogers, Virginia's high point. It'll be a couple years before I climbed Mount Whitney in California, and then there was a big gap between then and my real pursuit of all 50 state high points. That's 3 this year in 2022, and in less than 2 weeks I get a chance at Mauna Kea in Hawaii. So should be able to finish 36 by the end of this year. Wow, what views up here. I mean, unreal. Oh. To look west into Nevada. I said that wrong. West into California, into the Sierras. I look back east into Nevada. Man, but all this right above this scramble that I just did back there, oh, so beautiful. Man, what a reward. What a reward for challenging yourself and pushing yourself to get up on a mountain like this. God, so amazing. Well, wind's hardly blowing, so unlike the last couple of high points, Mount Marcy and also Guadalupe Peak in Texas, I got to those summits and winds were fierce, and it was not very pleasant to be up there, so other than the views being amazing. But I think this is going to give me a chance to actually drop pack and sit down, enjoy life up here. Man, maybe on the way down I'll give you a look at some of the parts that I came up in darkness. But it feels great. Summit of Boundary Peak. Well done. Just finishing up the second hardest section, probably coming down from like the ridge line down to Trail Canyon Saddle where I am. It was just steep and slippery, slid down a lot, fell on my butt pretty hard once and luckily avoided injury. But after that, I really took baby steps heading down. Quads are tired, so I'm not doing as good at keeping up when I'm sliding down, so probably should rest a little bit. Hey, found a little rock here to rest on. Haven't seen another person. This is one of the most isolated trails I've done. Everything from the Queen Canyon Road being really difficult drive, in a two-wheel drive at least. A really difficult drive, isolates it. Then you got the tough climb. There's other mountains around that are bigger over in California, and a lot of the most experienced alpinists would spend more time over there. But this was right up my alley today. This was awesome, so amazing. They're tiny little specks, I'm sure, on the GoPro, but this next section finally is a relief. That easy walk along the ridge line of the saddle, but I can see the wild horses still over there, so I'm sure I'll pass by them again. tired. Whew, that's a great hike. It's a good kind of tired, but may not have quite the enthusiasm to wrap up the video. Ready to just kind of sit and rest a little bit before trying the harrowing drive out of here. But total stats here, we got 9.8 miles from where I parked. That's what I expected. I gained 3,839 feet along the trail, which means I came down that too. Whew, my knees feel it. It took me about 7 hours. It's not quite 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's with taking some breaks. All Trail says I was moving for 6.5 hours. So that's a good day's work walking. Average pace, almost 40 minutes per mile. And that's really that last 1.5 mile section. So slow through there. But still, I'm not gonna expect to do, like a 2 mile every hour pace on a trail like this. So I'd say it was a success. 35 state high points. This one up there is one of my challenging ones. I've got the really hard ones still to go. And who knows if I'll be successful in getting those. But that's just a goal to work towards. So I'm excited to move on to the next one, which this summer is Mauna Kea. That should be easy as long as the weather holds. Trying to redo a part of my wife and I's honeymoon. We were doing a Mauna Kea tour there that got canceled because of the weather. So we booked a similar tour, and we'll be driven close to the summit. So as long as the weather holds, we should be able to make it up there. But 35 here at Boundary Peak, that was a good one. I'm glad I got to stop here and share it with you and tell you science rocks. Peace.